So my name is Cornelio Neufeld. I grew up in Canada, which is why I speak English. I'm bilingual, low German, high German, and Spanish. Spanish is terrible though, so English is pretty good. And my wife was here today. I think my youngest son has been kind of rowdy, so she's not here right now. But I have 4 children, and yeah, I've been blessed. But here goes. So I grew up on a farm that was kind of co-opted between my father and 3 of my uncles. And that kind of limited my responsibilities for the vast majority of my farming life. And so what happens then is you become kind of reckless and you don't pay attention. And you inherit, so to say, a certain way of doing things without even thinking about why are we doing what we're doing. And that played a major role in my downfall. And so I'll begin. The year probably, I think it was 2015 or 16, I can't recall exactly, but we started growing chili peppers, dry red, and everybody would tell me that it was beginner's luck, and I think it was, because I paid little to no attention to what I was doing, and we had an amazing yield. And that was 16. So me thinking that I now know what I'm doing, I come back in 17, and lo and behold, my luck ran out. And one of the first issues that I ran into, which Dennis spoke of, was vert. So verticillium. So I found, or what I thought at that time was, well, let's just use fungicide. And so I threw fungicide at it, and I controlled it. For how long? Well, for that one season, right? Now I thought I had the answers, and 2018 rolls around and we increased our acreage on chili pepper production. And now I'm putting out fungicide without even thinking about it, because now it's just a go-to. You have to do what you have to do, right? So I put out fungicide, but then we ran into a different problem. And then we had a cutworm. And then we had the cutworm problem, and never had it before, never seen it before. And all I knew is I had a beautiful stand, the most beautiful stand I think I had ever had. And within days, you could just see the green go away, and plants were diminishing. And so, heavy insecticide, fungicide was already there, heavy insecticide, through the drip. I'm on drip irrigation. So through the drip and over the top. And it fixed the problem. For how long? For that season. 2019. Now I've got fungicide, insecticide in the drip, in the ground, over top. They're just my go-to now without even thinking about it. And what happens then? Another problem. Now all of a sudden I have to deal with rise up. And so again, I did what anybody would do. I called my agronomist, my field rep. I asked him what I needed to do. I threw out more chemical. And so my inputs were just going through the roof. And my growth was coming down, yield was going down, and my margins were getting slimmer and slimmer. And then 2020 came around. And up to that point, I didn't really use social media. I hated it. I thought it was useless. But I think the good Lord knows how to use tools sometimes, even for good. And that was one of them. My wife insisted I check out Instagram because there was farmers on there. And I was like, well, if there's farmers on there, then I'll check it out. And 2020 was the hardest year I think I ever had. And that was my downfall. We put out 3 different fungicides through the drip, mind you not. 2 different insecticides through the drip, and I think it was 3 applications over the top, all within 8 weeks of planting. And and then I go on social media. I think most of you here know of or have heard of Cole Viramontes. It's not that we're that close, but I saw his Instagram page, And that was my aha moment. I saw that he was using a product called Worm Gold, and I was like, that's the secret. The Americans have been keeping from us. That's the one. I need to be using that. I contacted Cole. He gave me Josh's number, and I called Josh in my simplistic view of thinking that I just needed him to sell me that product and it would fix all my problems. And it didn't. But he came out, and this is how I actually got to know Josh and Wyatt. They came out to my farm, and I think it's probably the worst stand of chili you probably ever saw. And they didn't say it though, they were really nice. But that is where I got to know Wyatt, and he was just running around on the field, and I think you had a shovel with you. And he was digging and smelling and whatnot. And I know in the back of my head I was thinking, is he going to taste it? And I think he did. He tasted the soil. And I was there with my agronomist, my field rep. And I know later he told me that he thought you guys, this was something that wasn't real. It was a fantasy. We couldn't farm that way. We ended up disking that chili field. We lost it. So I had to change my way of thinking. And I remember what you told me, Josh. You wanted me to imagine New York City. I think you said, I'm going to butcher this, but I think you told me, imagine New York City. And what I had done was, because of the crime rate going up, I had nuked the place. So I had killed I had taken care of all the bad guys, but I basically killed all the innocent people there as well. So, and so then that definitely changed my way of thinking. And so my days of being a mass murderer are done. And yeah, so 2021, they've been walking me through it. Was my first year getting back to it. We went to a way smaller scale. I think I grew 10 acres that year of fresh green. And yeah, and it just responded. It was so tempting because I know the first problem that came that year was nematodes. And it was really tempting because my field rep, again, he wanted me to put out a nematicide, and I refused. I didn't do it. I was like, well, I'm going to go down swinging. I'm not going to allow, I'm not going to do what I did. I'm not going to do it anymore. And lo and behold, the plants pulled through. And that was a 10-ton pick, first pick. We got hailed out though. I wasn't able to do a second pick. And for me, that was kind of my benchmark where I wanted to get to in fresh green. And I know in 2022, Wyatt and Josh, they came back. They asked me, do you think it's feasible to see a 15-ton, 20-ton pick? And I was like, well, it'd be nice, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. And but my yields increased, my fertilizer dependency decreased. And I think 2022, I had my first pick was 12.5 tons, somewhere around that. And total pick was somewhere in the 20 tons. And 23 last year, when I'm going to finish up on chili, and then I want to go back. I want to touch on peanuts as well. I'm a peanut farmer as well. So then 23, it increased again. 22, 23 were one application of insecticide over the top. Soldier worm came out, and there's really nothing you can do other than hit it with an insecticide. And then this year we had thrips come out. I sprayed 10 acres, and the other 10 I did not. And looking back now, I probably shouldn't have sprayed the 10 acres, but that's what happened this year. And yield increased substantially. My first pick this year was on that one 10-acre block was 16 tons on the first pick, 10 tons on the second pick, and then the other block I think I did, it was about 10 and 10. So I'm not here, I don't have many answers. All I know is that I can tell you it works. One of the biggest things that I do now is I try to be mindful, especially when it comes to my soil. And my wife she actually came back. She's mentioned to me that she would like to see me take care of my personal health now, the way I take care of my soil. So that's next. But yeah, peanuts. I really want to touch on that because we just heard on rhizobia and what that can do for you. So I'm a peanut farmer. It's a legume. I started that in 2020 as well. And again, I think Austin said earlier, young and dumb. It's a legume, and I was taught that not taught, basically I just followed the system. We were putting out nitrogen. Now what does that do to a legume crop? I mean, it makes it so dependent on nitrogen, right? You can forget about it fixating its own nitrogen at that point. So I did that for 2 years, and then 2023, last year, was my first year, where I spoke to my father about it. I'm like, we're not going to put out any dry fertilizer when we bed. And he's like, why not? I just told him I'm done. I don't think we need to. Our soil tests, they don't necessarily change. I think we need to just cut that, and then we'll be saving money in the long run, and I think it's not beneficial to our soil. So he allowed me to do that. And this year again, we didn't put out any dry fertilizer. So the startup is clean. And my soil tests, they're actually improving. From 2020 to 2024, my organic matter has increased by 0.4%. And I'm really, I actually have the test here to prove it. I'm at 1.25 now. And I was at, in the ballpark of 0.5, 0.6.
Wow.
So, yeah, on my peanuts as well, I'd like to add inoculants. I mean, rhizobia is super important. Again, it's really tempting to see your neighbor's field. It looks like it's taken off, but all you really have to do is, like Dennis mentioned, a little FOS will help. All I did was put out 25 pounds of FOS, and I just saw the inoculation process take off, and all of a sudden, my plants were catching up, and they sped ahead actually. And very, very vital, like Dennis mentioned as well, inoculant when it comes to rhizobia. It needs warm soil temperatures. I had a lot of guys ask me this year, so are you done with peanuts? And I said, no, why? Well, a lot of these guys were done, their plants were growing. My planter hadn't seen the field yet. I was waiting for warmer temperatures. I came off earlier than a lot of these guys. I finished harvest yesterday actually, and there's guys that still haven't dug their peanuts. So, and I try to keep my inputs to a super low. Well, it's easy to keep them low when you don't put out synthetic fertilizers, when you're not supporting BASF and Bayer and all them guys. My inputs are super low, and my margins have increased. So this is kind of my testimonial. I hope it's beneficial.